All right. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for hanging around. Just waiting for MJ and trade better. If those of you don't know, just had a baby, so he's having a little baby duties going on right now. So he'll hop on when he can. But welcome, MJ.
Thank you, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Nah, glad you could make it. It's been a while. What you been up to then?
Same old, basketball, work, saving my little money, just going through the motions.
Cool, cool. Yeah. So actually, Harrison, hopefully he can hop on, but this was kind of his topic he wanted to start off with. I know you also want to touch on some maybe policy or Section 8 strategies, but Harrison wanted to dig into kind of, I know because we see you playing basketball all the time on Instagram and whatnot, but, and we always kind of talk about that, but maybe if you were to build like a perfect team or building your real estate team, or how would you incorporate looking at NBA players of past and present and kind of their style of play, their mindset in building a team? But before we start, I want to throw this up there real quick. So this so those you don't know, there was a big trade in the NBA. So we can also talk about that and see your thoughts if you have anything on that. But yes, Luca is now with the Lakers and Anthony Davis is with the Mavericks. So, hey, what's up, Brett? Thanks for stopping by. But yeah, you have any thoughts on that? Like, if you were to build a dream team, real estate, or your mindset, like who would you start with building your team? I guess from NBA players.
Okay, so try to compare. I feel like you need a Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan style player. You need to be selfish enough and hungry enough because selfish is not a bad thing all the time. We always associate selfishness with, it's a bad attribute, bad characteristic, but sometimes it's needed to be successful. So my first pick of the 2025 real estate draft, I'm gonna select um Kobe Bryant.
Ah, so I want. So can I take Kobe or no? This is okay. Okay, you're gonna
Well,
go
you
with
gave me
Kobe.
you gave me the floor, so I
Okay,
had the
okay.
first pick.
Okay.
So
And sorry, so your the biggest trait that you see in him that would work well in investing or real estate is what? What was that again?
so the ambitiousness. You got to be ambitious, ambitious.
Okay, cool. The funny thing is, you just I think recently was like what was it, a 5 year anniversary of Kobe passing,
Yeah.
but the funny thing is I never really cared for him when he was playing. It's more after he when he did retire is when I actually started appreciating what he brought to the game and his work ethic. So it's funny that when he was playing, I was always kind of rooting against him in a sense. But then after you kind of see what he put into it, and people talk about it sometimes too, right? Like maybe he wasn't. I mean, he was very talented, but maybe he wasn't as talented as it seems. But a lot of it was work ethic. Okay, so that is a great pick. For me, and I think a lot of people that follow this channel kind of know my personality, maybe, and kind of just very, very I don't know if charismatic is the right way to put it, but I'm gonna start with one of my favorite players. I'm gonna go with Charles Barkley. That was kind of my guy. And he, definitely he's had some, moments in his career where maybe work ethic and maybe lazy or out of shape, and maybe he did get by on talent, a little bit early in his career. But if you look at the overall package, I mean, he was very unique, and just the fact that I think his what I like about him is his personality and how he's been able to go from NBA, and now he has a career outside of basketball, but more his personality and his able to just kind of be on camera and talk to people. I think that's super important when it comes into investing and especially real estate. You're dealing with a lot of people, so Barkley would be my first pick.
Okay, that's a good choice. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see you
Oh
selecting Charles
yeah,
Barkley.
well, I like to keep. I'm like Trump. I do the weave, right? I keep you off balance.
Exactly, exactly. Okay. Another person player I would pick. How many we get to pick?
if Harrison doesn't come by, we can go a little bit more, but at least a starting five. And it
Okay.
doesn't, it can be, you can, and we can even talk about like strategy. Are you a traditional like point guard, shooting guard, center? Or are you kind of more this new style NBA of kind of positionless basketball, right? So
Right.
that's another thing. But yeah, at least five. Let's go at least five.
Okay. So my next pick, I would pick Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan. Uh, he's they call him Mr. Fundamental because he was just a simple, basic basketball player that just got the job done. Not too flashy. Never really in no off court, troubles, dramas, and things of that nature. And he got the job. I think he won 5 NBA champions rings with the San Antonio Spurs, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, definitely Tim Duncan because just
Yeah.
sticking to the basics, and I can relate that to real estate because, like with Zubra and Lumberjack and Dion, it's like okay, learn your buy box, learn your rent box. Those are the basics. Those are the fundamentals. If you dominate those areas and fields, you will be successful in real estate or whatever um, area you decide to go in life.
Absolutely. That pick hurts. Like that was gonna be one of my that's probably gonna be my next pick. But I see some people stopping in on Instagram. So what's up, Paco and Zach? Thanks for stopping by. Got Andy here also now in the chat. Um, Andy's a funny. He's gonna be one if he does make it to Vegas. I don't think he's making it this year, but he's a big dude. He's gonna be one of my security guards when I'm in Vegas.
How
Um,
big is he about?
I forgot what he said, but I want to say he was like 6'4", maybe 350. If I'm
Uh,
yeah, he's gonna be blocking for me if we go football. He's gonna be in my draft for the old rat football draft. Um,
okay.
but if so my next pick, so you went with Duncan. Okay, I'm gonna go with one of my favorite players is I'm gonna go with Steph Curry.
Okay.
Steph, I like also because he has niched down. Like he is, I think he will be able to play as pretty much as long as he wants to play because he has a skill set. So Andy says he's 6'2", 350.
Oh.
Um, but I like that Steph is probably the greatest shooter we've ever seen, and the fact that like we talk about real estate sometimes, there's people out there that they're trying to do too many things, right? They're trying to focus on short-term rentals, midterm rentals, rent by the room, section 8, but they're trying to do all these different strategies where like Steph Curry, kind of his game has been kind of solely based on, I guess, the fact. I mean, he's very talented, he can do other things, but he's basically, he's a great shooter, and his game kind of revolves around that. I think that's what I like about him. He's kind of has his niche, and he's kind of just the best at it, and that's it.
Okay. My next pick is going to be a current player too, Kevin Durant.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna say Kevin Durant because I mean he been to different teams in different cities trying to figure it out, right? And so sometimes you might live in an expensive market to where the numbers don't work, so you got to be open minded to try to figure it out. So just on that comparison, I would say so.
Okay. Okay. Now that you bring that up, that's another reason why I'd go with Charles Barkley, right? He started his career with the Sixers, and he was finding personal success there, but the market didn't fit him, and he was able to get out of that market. And me investing remotely out of state, maybe that's another thing that, like you brought up a good point. Sometimes that market that you're in may not work, or may not fit whatever you're trying to do, and that's why you're gonna try and get into a different market. Okay. All right. So I got Barkley and Curry. You took Tim Duncan. That was the guy I wanted. So I'm torn right here. I'm torn. Um, I maybe because seeing him play more today. So that's why I like Jokic. I like the Joker. I think he's very similar to Duncan, and he can do a lot of things. He's super fundamentally sound. But I'm gonna go with the Dream as my center, Hakeem
Hakeem.
Olaj Hakeem
Oh
Olajuwon.
yeah.
I think I think especially like if he was playing in today's game,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think he would be unbelievable, with the rules as it is. I think his skill set would fit even more so today. But back when he was playing, he was already dominant, right? Footwork, defense. So I think I would put him as my center or big man. I kind of believe a little bit more in today's style, that kind of positionless basketball. But I think if he was playing in today's game, we would just be talking about him as just unbelievable. But I think he does everything well, right? He does, like I said, he played defense. I think they don't talk about his shooting, but he was a great mid-range shooter and whatnot. So that's why I think he would fit well in today's style. But I like that he did everything, and he kind of he stayed in one city. I think we were talking about going to different markets, but he kind of figured it out how to make it work in that market. He did win two championships with an asterisk, maybe. Jordan wasn't playing at that time, but
Yeah.
he does have two championships. But I would definitely take Ali Hakeem Olajuwon on my team.
Nice. Yeah, you can't go wrong with Hakeem. My next pick, I'm gonna go with Russell Westbrook. I like Westbrook a lot. He's just one of those players that I mean, he averaged a triple double. I think it was for a year or two, or maybe 3 seasons once upon a time. And he's still going. He's a little older, but he's still like give every play his last. Like he always, trying to push the needle. He always playing hard defense, rebounds, but he got to come off the bench. He just been able to accept his role and always going back to what got him there, his grit, his strengths. And comparing that to real estate, it's like sometimes you might not see results as quick as you want to, but just stay down long enough, you have no other choice but to go up. So Westbrook, he been in different been in the league 15, 16 seasons by now, maybe more. He just always been able to figure it out with no matter where he's been.
Okay, I think your Wi-Fi is glitching a little bit, but you're okay. But I think Westbrook definitely is going to be kind of not to the same level of Kobe, but I
Right.
think he's going to be one of those where when he retires, you're going to appreciate what he did a lot more. Definitely maybe he's in your face a little bit, so maybe that's why, like, when you're seeing him play today, sometimes maybe that rubs people the wrong way a little bit. But I think he's one of those when he leaves the game or when he does retire, it's gonna really be, wow, this guy was something special. I mean, like, just I think, athletically, I mean, I hate to compare anyone to Jordan, and I know they're different, but athletically, and he just with his athleticism, he was able to, maybe his jumper is a little suspect, but because he was so athletic, it kind of was, he did get open shots, open looks. But yeah, Westbrook is a great talent, and yeah, I love his energy out there. For me, this is going to be a tough pick because more so maybe because he had struggles playing with Jordan as far as thinking he was better than Jordan. Maybe he's had some off the court issues once he's retired. But I think from a versatility standpoint and being able to do a lot of things well, I'd have to say like Scottie Pippen would be on my team. As far as I think, like, especially in today with his size, he probably could have played every position with the way the game is today. But I think, yeah, I love everything that he did on the court. He pretty much could do everything. And that's that. I don't know him or anything, but definitely the one thing I would say is I wish maybe if there was one thing, maybe somewhat mentally stronger a little bit would be my only gripe about Scottie Pippen. So that would be the only thing. But as far as what he brings to the table, I think, even like I said, talk about real estate, you got to have a lot of different skill sets out there, right? And, you're going to have to figure certain things out. And I think he's one of those pieces where you can fit in different places to kind of overall bring your portfolio up or overall bring your team up. So definitely he would be on my team.
Okay. So with Scottie Pippen, great player, he got a lot of accolades with Michael Jordan being being his partner, things of that nature. Off the court, he was actually on a podcast with Patrick Bet David that I saw some of, and he had some comments there that was just like uh, he seems very confident in what he's saying. However, I compare Scottie Pippen to a rap scenario. I compare Scottie Pippen to like Dame Dash and Jay Z, and Michael Jordan is Jay Z, and Dame Dash is Scottie Pippen. It's like they was together. It was good once it was there, but then once things off the court, I mean, people might be living a certain way that they once were, or even better. And I just think it's kind of the same comparison, give or take.
Yeah, that's like I said. That's why I take Pippen's on court ability and
Okay, okay,
everything else. You know, like I said, he's had some differences of opinions, and maybe he probably thinks he was a great player, but I definitely think he may feel that he is slightly better than he was.
right,
But he's
right.
definitely a great player. Ah, so let's see. It's
Oh
because
wait,
I'm.
so it's on my last one now. I think
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right.
fifth
That's right.
one.
Okay.
Shaquille O'Neal,
Damn,
dominant center.
that's charisma too, right? That's sort of
Yeah,
okay.
charisma, funny guy.
Okay.
But he kept the main thing the main thing. He was trying to dominate, put up big numbers or whatever. He was a terrible free throw shooter, but it is what it is. You can't have it all. But he dominated the center position so much, and he broke a couple of rims to where they had to change the rims of the NBA. So he was a trendsetter as well, Shaquille O'Neal.
Well, you do know that Olajuwon embarrassed him in those playoffs, right? In the
I mean,
championships, right?
Olajuwon embarrassed a lot of people. I mean, it happens. It happens.
But
Olajuwon is the dream. So
and you know you're gonna have conflict on your team, right? With Shaq and
yeah,
Kobe, right?
yeah,
So now I have to decide if I'm gonna take Jordan, right? Because you didn't take Jordan, right? You took Kobe.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Or I
is
didn't pick
is
LeBron either.
is Jordan gonna be like the 10th pick here out of all these
Oh,
players we're gonna take,
I,
right?
I
So
mean,
but now I'm gonna have Jordan and Pippen, right? So now I'm gonna have this same thing, this
I got
conflict
Shaq and
of
Kobe.
person. Exactly. So pretty much that's what it's gonna come down to, right? Well, so Jordan and LeBron would probably be definitely the easiest choices here from just a probably NBA.
Right.
So I'm gonna maybe go a bit off. It's gonna be hard because I'm playing a little bit small ball here, but for me, I loved John Stockton. So
Stop.
I'm
Okay.
gonna go with Stockton from being to me just fundamentally sound also, and he had a very long career and very durable, right? So he went through whatever struggles they ever had. He kind of just a boring player, right? He did it in a small market, like for me, I'm investing in Pittsburgh, which is kind of a smaller market, right? So I like John Stockton just from, a lot of times I think people don't give him the credit that he did just because he never won a championship. And people always say, oh, he had Carl Malone. All he did was, pass the ball to Malone and whatnot. But I mean, you look at his percentages, his defensive statistics and things like that. I mean, I think he's up there. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I know he had the all time
Assist leader.
steals,
Oh,
well,
steals.
steals, right?
Yes, he up there.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure if he's still at the top, but just things like that. Even hit. So to me, he was Steve Nash before there was Steve Nash, so.
I
Uh,
agree.
but
I agree.
but yeah, having Stockton and Curry in the backcourt might be a little bit on the small side. But like I said, Pippen can guard every position on the floor, so that's my strategy right there.
Mm. So who is your five? Name your five out again.
I got Curry, Stockton, Barkley, Pippen, and the Dream.
Oh, nice. That's a
But
nice
but
five.
but
Nice
wait.
five.
But I have to clarify something. I want prime Barkley, Pippen, and the Dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not when they were all playing in Houston together and were too old and they had Drexler still yet too. So I don't want that. I don't want that version of them.
Right. 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 Yeah. Okay. So I have Russell Westbrook, Kobe. Who was my three? I know Shaq and Tim Duncan. I'm trying to see who
Oh,
was my three.
you had Durant. Well, man, you have too much
Oh, Kevin
class.
Durant.
You
Kevin Durant.
you got Westbrook and Durant gonna be clashing. You got Shaq and
Yeah.
Kobe. You got too much
Oh
turmoil going
yeah.
on in that team.
Tim
Dunk,
Duncan go even it out.
Uh, all right. Well, I think a lot of it, like I said, this was just a fun one. Hopefully, maybe Harrison, when he can get on, he can give us his quick five. I don't know if you want to go one bench player, if you have one bench player in mind, or you want to go
Yeah,
off
I
to
go bench player. I'll go DeMar DeRozan.
really. Oh, that
Yeah, I
that
like DeMar.
I
I like DeMar.
okay, man, interesting.
And
You
I
know,
would say DeMar DeRozan because he a fundamental mid-range style player. Like a lost art in the NBA. Everybody want to shoot the three and stuff like that, and he still like control the mid-range. He still get majority of his buckets, shooting mid-range jump shots. So
hmm, I'm torn, right? Because, like I said, Jordan and LeBron would be the easy choices here.
right.
I like Chris Paul a lot. I mean, he's definitely like on that neck. Like you said, mid-range game. I think he was a lot better. Uh, but are you Shane? There's a question for you. Are you
That's
Shane
a
Mosley?
boxer.
Yeah.
Nah, I wish. I wish. 1-2, 1-2.
um, but thanks for stopping by, Jerome. But I don't know if this is your first. I never seen you here before, but don't forget to subscribe and like the channel if you can for me. Man, I'm torn right here. I'm gonna go with someone current just because it's someone current, and it's probably my and like I said, the Joker is one of my favorite. But currently, the guy I like, and the only thing he has a hard time staying healthy. Um, but I really like Tyrese Halliburton in today's NBA.
Tyrese
That's
Halliburton, the point
yeah,
guard for the Pacers.
yeah. I same thing. He's super efficient. I love his game. His girlfriend is beautiful. But I love I love his game. The only thing is he can't, he has a difficult time staying healthy, seems like. But that was interesting. Hey Jen. Jen's here to make trouble. I know the ladies of ORAT. Are you having a live today or a Zoom call today? But yeah, his game, I love his game, and especially I think when you talk about real estate investing, hopefully Halliburton can get over these injuries and this struggle. And as you probably know, I probably know, we know in investing, especially in real estate, you're going to go through some hard times, and sometimes you're maybe questioning your decision on why you're doing certain things, and if it's worth going through the struggles, right? So I think Halliburton's kind of at that point where he's trying to figure out how to overcome these injuries and whatnot. But when he's on the court, super successful, super productive. But I think just like anyone that's going to get to investing, right? It's trying to figure out how to get through those somewhat challenging times. But yeah.
I'm looking at the comments. I think Ike Hobbs said, "I came here to hear about Section 8, not the self-centered NBA."
Oh, I didn't share. Oh, I hear that one now. No, see, Ike is I would have Ike on my channel more, but his Wi-Fi is horrible, so I can never use any of the content after. I can't make any clips because his audio and his Wi-Fi is terrible. So Ike, if you're still here, I'm letting you know that I couldn't use any of the content from our last recording because I can't get the clips to have the audio come out clear. Oh, Jen's here. She says 8 a.m. Ladies of ORAT, which they keep not letting me allowed into. I'm trying to get into to see what they're talking about in the school community, but they don't let me in. Crawford in at 6. Crawford, are you talking about
Jamal
Jamal
Crawford.
Crawford?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see
yeah, that's
that.
a good one. That's a good
That's
one.
I can see that. All right. All right. Yeah, that's a good pick. But okay. So we didn't go with some obvious picks, right? That you're talking about, especially the old. Of course, maybe we're kind of staying later '80s. Seems like, right? Um, because there's no Magic, no Bird. But I'm surprised, Jordan, LeBron. No, none of us took them. But yeah, okay. This was a fun one, man. This was so Ike, to make you happy. Maybe we'll pivot a little bit and move on to another topic. Or if anyone else wants to chime in, who their five would be. I see Crawford in at 6. Some people seem to like my Olajuwon pick. Nobody seemed to like any of your picks, MJ, but that's fine. But yeah, so this pivoting on right now to like maybe some Section 8 things, or maybe policy. Trump, there's a lot of stuff going on with Trump being in office or what now. Let's see, about a month or no. 11 days, maybe in a sense.
Two
Lot
weeks.
of, yeah. So a lot of policies, and I'm just amazed, I guess, at people. I don't know if freaking out is the right word, but it's kind of like this is exactly what he said he was going to do. You know what I mean? Like this is what he said he was going to do when he was in office, and he hit the ground running. To me, it seems like it was like, "Okay, you won election night," and he had all of this laid out. Like he was like, "Okay, we gotta when I get inaugurated, we're hitting the ground running. You know, we're just going full speed." And it seems like that's what he did, and people still seem shocked. But I know there was discussions about putting things on hold, like federal budget cuts and whatnot. And I think a lot of people were trying to get an understanding of like Section 8 payments and certain things. So that's kind of on pause right now. But so I guess that's kind of like if Trump was to eliminate Section 8 in a sense.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Do you have Section 8 tenants currently?
I have one Section 8 tenant at the moment. Yep.
So is this topic more because you're trying to see if you should pivot, or you're just trying to get a feel for like maybe um
No, I just want to kind of bring some awareness to the um to the conversation in general, because I feel like a lot of people praise Section 8 so much. Like, oh, you get Section 8, you get Section 8, you good. The government go pay us, nothing can happen. You get your money guaranteed. And this, obviously, it's always caveats, it's always, downsides to things. And, one can argue that it takes a long time to get set up and your first payment through Section 8. Sometimes it can be very tedious with things that they want and require from you. And some people, majority of the tenants or and of their rentals are Section 8. And I was just curious to know, like, if it was to go down, how would that affect the people that's, pros? I'm not against Section 8 because I have a Section 8 tenant. Like I said, I just want to have a healthy conversation about the what ifs and the possibilities of, potentially losing your Section 8 and you have to go market and things of that nature.
all right, so let's refresh my memory again. You have how many units, or how many tenants I should say, and what percentage is Section 8?
So I got two units. So I got three tenants. I live in one of the units. Out of the three tenants, I got one Section 8. So one out of three
Okay.
Section 8.
And your market is, would you say, tenant favorable or more landlord favorable? Whatever, what market you're investing in.
Chicago um is more tenant friendly. It's more tenant. It's I'm more in favor of the tenants.
Okay. So for me, my I don't have any Section 8 tenants. Nothing against it. It wasn't something that I did. I So that's speaking of Pittsburgh where my rentals are. But I am renting out my primary in Hawaii now. And I was contemplating the idea of doing Section 8. Maybe if the timeline was a little bit different and I was a little more well prepared, possibly would have went down that route maybe. But from my just short interaction with the system, it seems very backwards in a sense. Um, kind of a lot of challenges as far as getting answers, and kind of it's almost like you got to take it with a leap of faith somewhat. Like I'm going to do this, and okay, maybe I don't have all the answers yet, but I'm
Yep.
just going to
Yeah.
do it. So that would be my only experience as far as Section 8, and that would be through like the Hawaii's program. But definitely, I think the one big misconception with Section 8 for a lot of people is they think it is low income individuals, right? It's more. I think the big thing is that people always should realize that Section 8 a lot of times is fixed income, right? So there's people that are on a fixed income, and doesn't necessarily mean they're on low income. But so for you, are you saying that okay, let's just go with, let's say Trump for whatever reason, like I said, this is not, but let's say Section 8 was eliminated. Would that put you in a bind at this moment? Like, let's say like tomorrow he goes, you have whatever 1 month or whatever Section 8 payments are done. How would you react to that, or how would that affect you?
Great question. How would I react to it? I think I would react to it, of course, well, in this sense, because it'd be like a whole rabbit hole because the person is in there. So as let them know, well, hey, Section 8 program is no longer available. You got 30, 60 days to, I guess, find your a place or stuff like that. So I can, you know, find a market tenant, or would you become a market tenant? So those are questions that's left unanswered. But I would be kind of scrambling because I'm a small landlord, so I need every dollar, every cent matters. Because I got to pay my mortgage, and I pocket the difference and try to save and invest for the next property. So for me, absolutely, I would be nervous. I would be overwhelmed initially, so I try to figure out how I'm gonna go about it. But I'm a smaller landlord, so every unit, every um replacement tenant, all that really matters, all that adds up. So I would be overwhelmed, but I would try to come to a conclusion quicker, and then hopefully I can keep the same tenants, so I don't have to even do uh what you call it when the tenant move out and you got to fix up the place.
Your turn or your rehab or
Okay, rehab the
yeah.
unit. So if I could keep the tenant in there and not have to do a potential rehab of a unit, there's just more money in my pocket. So I would be devastated. Absolutely, I would be devastated.
So I'm going to probably go a little further than that. So not necessarily if Section 8 was to get banned. I almost look at it from like COVID happening, right? So let's say at that time, Section 8 is what people wanted. It was like that guarantee payment. And then they put the rent moratorium on. And those people now were somewhat in a bind or scrambling, right? So to me, it's almost the same kind of event. So for me, I'm gonna go all the way to the biggest thing, and I always talk about it. I think is having reserves is one of the most important things, so that you can weather whatever type of situation or decision might come into play, right? So, like I said, like back when that was in play, COVID was like, I mean, Section 8 was like the darling, right? Everything, oh yeah, you want Section 8 tenants because it's guaranteed payment, all these things, right? And now it's kind of flipped, right? Now you're looking at it like, well, now they might, let's say they get rid of Section 8. What am I going to do in this situation? And I think to me, the bottom line is, and that's why we always talk about having ample reserves is super key. And then we also go into that having uh, not versatility, but as far as diversification somewhat in your
Diversification.
portfolio, right? So it's okay to have some Section 8 tenants, but also some traditional tenants, and we're not going to have just full one-on-one. So now, with that being said, right, I don't have any Section 8 tenants, I guess, in a sense. So for me, if some kind of shutdown or rent moratorium was to come into play in Pittsburgh, I definitely would put me in a bind in that situation. So I think that's also, now we're going to get into, what type of tenants you have, or what type of rent you're commanding, or how do you vet these tenants. I think there's so many factors that go into it. And I wasn't able to save it. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for stopping by. Um, Kill them all with karma. Yep, yep. Hope you have a great day too, man. Or ma'am, or ma'am, whatever. But hope you have a great day. Um, but I think the important thing is also not always maybe commanding top dollar for rent. I think that's the one thing, right? You want to make sure that these individuals that you're putting in there are well qualified, so that maybe when, if something like this does come down the road, they are able to cover rent for a certain period of time, for when you're talking about like traditional tenants, right?
I got a couple of questions for you, Mark. So Pittsburgh is a landlord friendly city or a tenant friendly city?
So I think you would say, if you had to really, Pittsburgh in general is somewhat kind of in that purple area,
Okay.
where you're fairly, you know, blue and red mixture. So it kind of leans both ways. I mean, I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but it would probably be very in the middle. kind of a fair policy. Yeah.
Okay, so this how I would kind of base that. How long would it take to do an eviction in Pittsburgh on average?
Well, I haven't done one myself specifically. Knock on wood. I haven't had
We
that
knock
issue
on wood
yet.
with you too.
Yeah, yeah, and that, but it seems to me it really can go both ways. Like
Mm,
I've people that I know investing there. They're like, oh yeah, if you have, your paperwork, whatever documents, it doesn't take that long in a sense. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like, you know, couple weeks and the situation's gonna be resolved. You're probably talking still, you're probably talking, I would say maybe a good 30 to 60 days,
okay, okay,
but fairly reasonable if you're kind of have everything documented and whatnot. But it's not going to be like this long drawn out process
okay, okay,
usually. I forgot what happened to my friend's one, but he did have a situation. His tenant that he did have was, I guess, accused. I don't know, charged, or basically was in jail for, um, I don't know, sexual abuse, rape, whatnot. But anyway, the tenant wasn't paying and they didn't know why. They're trying to reach out to him, whatever, and then I guess they found out he was in jail, and so they had to get evict that tenant and whatnot. But yeah, so and I think Mikey, I believe Mikey has gone through one. But so nobody wants to go through one,
yeah, of course not, of course not.
but definitely you're just hoping for kind of a smooth process in a sense. Yeah.
Right. And the next question I got for you is during the pandemic, would you still receiving your monthly rental payments? Like what percentage maybe of your portfolio did or didn't receive it during that time?
Man, you're trying to jinx me, aren't you? So knock on
I
wood
mean,
again. Knock on wood again. I've been fairly fortunate through this journey, that I haven't really had any issues as far as tenants not paying.
okay.
I mean, I've had tenants. I do have a tenant that is constantly late.
And that's
Um,
okay with paying the late fee, right? It's just like,
Yeah, so she pays the late fee every month. She does communicate like, oh, I'm gonna pay it this. So it definitely, it's not as if I'm chasing her down like, hey, this. I mean, she does communicate, and so that brings me to another kind of topic that was brought up in school, and I think it's a very interesting one, and more people should maybe look into it or think about it, especially where rents are right now. Right, rents are kind of flat for a lot of markets, so some people, instead of increasing their rent, maybe for this year or for this next lease, they're looking at increasing fees. They might increase the late fee, they might increase a pet fee, whatnot. So it's just these additional things that, so you're not necessarily increasing the rent because rents are flat, and hopefully you don't want these people leaving or you don't want a tenant turnover. But maybe you could increase some other things that now are kind of there maybe for the next lease, right? So let's say you increase the late fee on this one, and when you do, maybe the next lease comes around the following year. Now you have this possibly higher late fee rent, or late fee, and then now you can increase the rent, whatever, maybe 25, 3%, 5%, whatnot. But there's other ways to, I guess, consistently be improving your lease in a sense. But so that's something I'm thinking about too. So this tenant that always does pay late, like I said, she always paid, but she always pays the late fee. I might put in somewhere where, hey, I'm not going to increase the rent this year, but I am going to increase the late fee to incentivize you to try and pay on time now, right? So you kind of avoid that increase. So that's something I'm looking at.
oh, I never thought about that. I think that's kind of a good option in reality. I mean, but as far as the pet fee, I mean, well, if the pet is already in place and you charge for the pet rent, then that would increase the rent. So say you charge $50 for a cat or a dog, the rent was 1,600, but they got the cat the dog at 1,650. If you raise the pet rent, then the regular rent gonna go up too. You see?
Yeah, yeah, but I guess it's they're just it's almost the weave, right? You know, you're talking the
Yeah,
weave, right?
yeah.
So it's you know you're not really increasing the rent, maybe, right? So it's almost like Dion's binder strategy, somewhat, where you're almost getting the tenant to think that they're winning, I guess, or they're making this decision, I guess, or throwing that out there. So, but
It's
yeah,
actually
so
a good idea because even though we getting hit upside the head as landlords, whether it's homeowners insurance or property insurance, I mean, we kind of got to eat those costs. And there's ways on how you go about your rent increase. It could be every year, or something like that. But I just when I first went up on rent, the first year after the lease and stuff like that, some tenants, it's almost like it's like, man, why are you doing this? It's like you kind of got to train them almost, so it can kind of, I guess, they expect it, or because it's like you let that year or two go and then you do it. Either way, you're gonna get chewed out the first time around. So it's just like, just put your head down and let's just get it over with, so you can kind of get used to it, or get to it to an extent to where you just don't think you just been in this place for 2, 3, 4, 5 years and no rent increase ever. And the owners, majority of us don't own our properties outright, and you know, like I said, we getting hit upside the head with homeowners insurance and property insurance. And um, yeah. Speaking of that, um, what's your opinion as far? Things happen. I want to be sensitive to everything, things that happen in LA, and the stuff that happens in Florida, the hurricanes and this and that, that the country as a whole are, I guess, being penalized with homeowners insurance. Isn't it regional as far as, like, say, the Midwest, the Northwest, the Southeast, the Southwest, as far as how they come up with the numbers for homeowners insurance versus, because if something happened in California and I live in Illinois, how do that affects me? So it's like, I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Ned, who does insurance, I think more commercial, he's he's spoke about this before. Is companies are typically not going to say that other markets are going to be paying for, let's say, like you're saying, like you in Chicago, your policy covering somewhat of California. Like they're not going to come out and say that, I guess, per se, but in a roundabout way, everyone is going to be impacted by increased insurance costs, right? So, like you said, we want to be, sensitive or considerate about what's going on in, like even North Carolina, Florida, California. Insurance is probably that one expense that a lot of people overlooked before. It was kind of just this basic one line item expense that people kind of were like, hey, insurance, I got it. I'm going to overlook it. But now it's become probably top line. Like, oh, I got this. This is my insurance for this market. And they're really trying to factor that in. Um, so I think there's a lot of, and for me, I think that's also why I prefer to invest in more affordable markets, in a sense, instead of, let's say you were investing in California, early on in your journey, and most of your wealth or most of your resources were in this one property now. And it could be doing well in California, one, and you could be cash flowing, but the majority of your capital is tied up in this one property, right? And now I think that's going to handcuff you. Let's say, unfortunately, you were in the Palisades, and let's say you lost your rental. Now you're trying to figure out how to get this property back up to speed, dealing with insurance, but now you've lost all this revenue in the meantime, and all your capital is basically tied up. So I think that's why, for me, diversification is also having my resource, even if it's in one market, is kind of spread out in one market. Where if something was to happen to one property, now I have these other pieces on the chessboard to either move around or keep me afloat or whatnot. But yeah, definitely insurance has been a big issue for a lot of people right now, and I think a lot of people are starting to look at it differently, even like a paid off property, right? I think a lot of people are looking at, does it make sense to have a paid off property? Because now I don't, I think a lot of the issue is a lot of people have, even for like Maui when had the Lahaina fires, a lot of people had paid off properties, and they almost, not that they let their insurance lapse, but it's almost like they didn't pay too much attention to it, and they kind of, maybe the policy didn't have enough coverage, or whatnot, so they kind of just overlooked it. So I think that's one thing where, if you have a mortgage or you have debt on the property, every year you're kind of paying a little bit more attention to your insurance policy, because the mortgage provider or whatnot, you're gonna, or the escrow company is gonna send you the renewal, and they're gonna have to also approve it, whatnot, in a sense. So yeah, definitely insurance is a concern for a lot of people, and that was going to be so, like Chicago. Are you folks? I mean, do you guys? Would you say there's a lot of natural disasters in that area that it would impact your guys' insurance costs?
No, not in the Chicagoland area. Maybe like down southish, like going maybe to where it's more open fields and plain stuff like that. There's every now and then they might have a tornado, give or take, but they don't do too much damage because it's like pretty much open fields and stuff like that. And it's be highly televised, and people know way ahead of time to take shelter and do the essential things to survive. But not really. As far as the Chicagoland area, no.
Okay, so I do see late start or invest to wealth stopping by for, so good morning. We got Kobe here from EXP. He's going to also be in Vegas for the ORAT event. Um, and those of you, if you were tuning in to see Harrison trade better, hopefully he pops in. But he did have a baby recently, so he does have some baby duties that came up. So I'm not sure if he is going to be able to hop on, but hopefully he can make it. But we did cover our kind of basketball dream team, or building a real estate team through NBA players. Maybe we can recap that as we wrap things up. But right now, we're kind of just talking about insurance, Section 8, maybe, I guess, how policies, Trump being in office for a few weeks, kind of having people evaluate their portfolios, and what they're going to be doing next. So for you, MJ, do you think you're going to continue with the Section 8 route, or how are you looking at maybe your next deal or your next tenant?
Absolutely. I'm still confident and believe and trust in the Section 8 process and the idea of it. Because, I mean, even depending on when the first fall, you might get your money the 30th or the 31st of the previous month. And it's just like, ain't nothing better than that to just see the money in your account. And with having a good tenant as well. So she is a great tenant. And it's like, just two birds in one stone. I picked the right tenant. I went through the process. I put my head down. I did what I was supposed to do, and now I'm kind of reaping the rewards. It kind of reinforces you that you did a good job, and this is one of those small wins that can trigger over the long term. In my case, I'm a person that needs those small wins to keep my momentum going. So for me, I will absolutely continue to invest in Section 8. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do well with Section 8, and I think, like we were talking about earlier, it's just part of diversification. And like you said, you don't have all Section 8 tenants, so you do have a mixture of both. So I think that's the probably the best way to look at it, is people that do want to get into Section 8, kind of balance out your portfolio. But yeah, definitely Section 8 can be a game changer, right? Like you said, it's nice to know that that guaranteed rent's going to come in every month. And but same thing, right? It's a lot of the basic, even with a long-term tenant, it still comes down to screening, right? What type of tenant you're going to put in there. It also comes down to same thing we talked about, reserves. Whether you're doing Section 8 long term, you want to make sure you have enough reserves in there. And I think that's just part of the whole learning process too, right? Hey, Steven, what's up, man? See you in Vegas in about a week. We'll be seeing MJ. He didn't go for the tickets this year, but he'll be doing it virtually. But MJ is gonna hopefully make the next one.
How many did he end up selling at the in all? Super.
I'm not sure. The last I heard, I know he stopped sales last Friday. I think he probably was about 20, 25 below the max capacity. I think
Okay.
so. Might have a little bit more space than last year. I'm not sure how he's going to use all the space because I think if anyone that went to the event last year real or noticed that there was a lot of space available to be doing other activities and maybe breakout rooms and whatnot. But so we'll see how that goes. But I think it's gonna be fun. I think definitely you did make a lot of good points too on maybe why you're not attending this year, and I think a lot of people did feel that way. So hopefully there could be different venues, and maybe you can start a Chicago ORAD event or put that together. I know a lot of people are looking thinking about. Somebody was talking Pittsburgh, that is kind of a central location. So
Yeah. I just want to go to a different location too. That makes it that much better. I wonder if Zuber. I know he's take constructive criticism. Well, I don't know if he look at your podcast 50 minutes in, but like with access, like why didn't we decide to go that? That'd be insightful information. I think just ask why and But
well, so and this I don't know. I'm just gonna
okay, it's all
I
speculation.
think that Zuber is very structured in a sense, as you can tell by his daily financial, his call. He's very once he gets into it, he kind of has this blueprint or routine. Now, if someone is willing to take the lead and kind of find a venue, find a location, get him maybe the breakdown of costs and all these type of things, and kind of almost in a sense do the work for him. I think he'd be open to the idea. But I think that's more. Plus, Vegas is kind of his backyard now, right? He's relocated to Vegas. So I think it just makes things a lot easier for him. Invest Too Well says he thinks he sold just under 300 tickets. And Esther has a question for you. Looks like, hold on. It says, MJ, how is the process to get Section 8 tenants? I have a property in Gary. Do visiting the Section 8 office help?
Okay, so I may be able to answer this question. I may not be able to answer this question because I'm in Chicago, and although Gary is 45 minutes, it's still a whole nother jurisdiction from either Illinois to Indiana. Millennial Mike may be able to give you the 100% way on how to get the Section 8 tenant. However, I still will answer the question on how I got my Section 8 tenant in Chicago. So for me, the first step was to have a rental property. Now let me stop. Yeah, so you want to promote your unit, whether that's Zillow, the affordablehousing.com, what we use here in the Midwest, Chicagoland, Gary. Post your unit, and you'll start to get people that's interested in renting and stuff like that. Once you kind of got some attention on the people that your potential tenants, you do an open house, or you show them the units and stuff like that. If they like it, you tell them your criteria is whether it's credit score, time on the job, XYZ. If they meet that requirement, they got to have this thing called moving papers, they call them. You look at the moving papers, you revise everything, make sure that they can qualify for your unit and things of that nature. And then once they give you the paperwork, it's like you submit it to like an online portal. I think it's acvportal.org or something like that, and they walk you through the motions on the next steps and things of that nature. Visiting the place, um, it doesn't. I don't think it's. They go send you. They want everything to be online. If you maybe assist on going, it maybe can help, but you can still get the same job done doing it online. It's just more convenient. But some people might feel more comfortable going in person, which is understandable too. It's a long process. Essentially, it can be anywhere from when you selected your potential tenant to when they actually move in to when you actually get your first rental payment. It could be like 3 to 4 months, from like 30 to 120 days, easily. So pretty much you promote the unit, you do a couple open houses, somebody interested, they show you their paperwork, let them know that they qualify, and then from there you submit the information via portal, which they give you all the information within the packet that the potential tenant has. And you just go through the motions. It's pretty much step by step. I can't really recall everything from memorization because I only did it one time. And but it's pretty much straightforward. It's pretty much elementary. They pretty much tell you everything you got to do step by step. So hopefully that kind of answered the question. You kind of got an idea on how to go about it. Um, but I would try to reach out to Millennial Mike if you can.
Okay, that was a great answer. Sorry, I was goofing around with Chat GPT trying to figure out which team would win in the NBA. I was typing in the teams, so I'll go over that before we finish up for today. But yeah, I think Esther, I know you're working with Millennial Mike already, so I'm sure he's probably he is the
Oh yeah.
king of Gary, so he is the best resource for that. I know he's kind of busy right now, but yeah, I think definitely what MJ said though, makes a lot of sense. But yeah, so Esther, I believe you're going to be in Vegas also, so I think we'll actually get to meet in person for the first time. So that'll be fun. I hope you're ready because I believe you didn't make it last year if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I think the ORAD event is going to be a lot of fun. I honestly, I still don't know who all the speakers are. I haven't really got a full
Uh,
list of or full idea. I know a lot of who might be talking, or it seems like who's talking. But yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I think, do you do their screening, credit score, income? So this is for you again. Let's see.
okay. Do you do the screening credit or income? Yeah, you do their screening. You do check the credit score. And you do the income. They got so with if they in the Section 8 program, they got a Section 8 voucher. So Section 8 has done a screening credit score income for them as well for them to be able to qualify for the program. But as far as a tenant standpoint, you have to you can't just say well they're in the Section 8 program they good or whatever. You still got to do your own screening, credit score, income. So yeah, yeah. So it's yes to both. The program does it for the applicant, and then you should do it as well before you place them in your unit.
So, you know, I also manage properties out in Hawaii. So we do have a Section 8 tenant. So for you, do you have, I know technically they're supposed to do an inspection every year, correct? Section 8 on the property.
Well, I think it's every two
Okay.
years, and I'm coming up on my second year this year shortly too. So I gotta make sure the property's within code and regulation stuff like that. I'm still waiting on them to give me the heads up, like, hey, we'll be coming around this time. This the things that we're looking for. But what I heard they looking for is pretty much keeping it things as far as safety, smoke detectors, stuff like that in general. Yep. So it's supposed to be every 2 years here in Chicago.
Well, I think you may have a friend that popped in. I have a feeling you may know this person. I'm not sure, but they do have a comment
The
for you.
one and only Nicole.
Do you know who that is? They do have a question for you.
Uh,
I will not. This. Thanks for
um,
stopping by, though. Just make sure you subscribe.
Nicole, gender affirming. I don't get the question.
Yeah,
Break it down for me, Mark.
man. I'm not trying to get canceled here, but I was it's assuming it's some transgender reference or whatnot. But yeah. Oh,
Oh, okay,
I bet.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's all those kind of people trolls out there, or like I said,
Oh, okay, okay,
maybe you
okay,
know them. I'm
okay,
not sure. Maybe they're messing with you. But as long as you're here, just make sure you subscribe.
okay.
But talking on sex, so my experience has been they're so understaffed that you know technically they're supposed to do an inspection every year, um, but they don't. So that's unless you really reach out to them to, hey, we gotta do our annual inspection, whatnot. But that's been my experience with Section 8.
Yeah, I'm still waiting. I mean, I'm patiently waiting. I mean, she like I say, she a great tenant. I come over every now and then just to do a visual inspection. Everything seems to be okay. If something do comes up, she let me know. Um, and the money keep coming in, so I mean, I'm not gonna open up a can of worms for myself, you know. So
All right. Well, I got to wrap things up probably about 5 to 10 minutes. We got a couple of different directions if you do want to cover, or unless somebody else has a question that they want to throw in the chat. But I don't know. Do you want to? So I showed this earlier. I don't know if you have any thoughts on the Anthony Davis Luka Doncic trade. If you have any jokes or your, I know there's a lot of different theories out there. What's going on? Or I know you playing a lot of basketball. I don't know if you're still swimming a lot, but I did
mm,
have this post from Tom Bayou. I love what he puts out there on X. But he's talking about universal health care won't save you. The truth, it just lowers the cost of dying. If people keep eating garbage,
mm.
no system will fix the real problem. We're funding sick care. So I don't know which maybe final thoughts you want to touch on. You want to touch on
I'll do the Mark Cuban
okay.
one. Mm.
So you was that did that shock? Did that trade shock you, I guess?
Absolutely, absolutely. I didn't see that coming. I think it shocked everybody. So I think Mark Cuban didn't have nothing to do with it. I mean, if you guys know, he did share a lot of his percentage and stake within the Dallas Mavericks not too long ago. I think it was over 50%. He's a minority owner now, and so he kind of took a back seat, literally and figuratively. So once you a minority, you don't got access to a lot of information in the day to day of the team operations like you once had once you was the majority owner. So he didn't know this happened. He really loved Luca. Man, before he made a comment saying like, if I had to trade my wife for Luca's stand or something to sign me up, I'm finna get a divorce or some of that sort. And so he was really shocked about it. The trade, I think it's a good trade even on the Dallas side. I think Anthony Davis, he played I think 70 plus games last year. This year he played a lot of games. He's been averaging a double double. He's really been doing it. So I think he gonna have a chip on the shoulder playing with Kyrie and Klay Thompson. On the Lakers side, I mean, it sounds good. Everybody look at Luca because he's a great scorer and he's only 25 and he been first time was it all NBA for 5 years in the first 5 years. So that's a great accomplishment. Some doubts and things of now is that he's overweight. He's injured a lot, and can he play with LeBron? Obviously, if he can get the weight under control and stay healthy, I mean it can be something there. I mean he's a generational talent for sure. It can be the next 10, 12 plus years if he can stay healthy. But just like Zion was a generation talent too, and he couldn't stay healthy because of the weight gain and just being able to play. So I actually think Dallas won this trade as of now. I mean, obviously we gotta see it into fruition because Luca still. I mean, we know his potential, but if he's not available, then what good does that make? You just there. You got a yellow shirt that say 77 Dante. I mean, you got to be able to play.
Man, where do I start on this? Okay, so I like I do believe AD can be a great player, especially when he's on the floor. However, I think Kyrie will always be a problem wherever he goes, and no matter who you bring in, you know. And there, I think I sent it to you, but there's this whole thing about the Trojan horse and the idea of the Lakers setting this up years ago and almost like putting Kyrie there in a sense, or getting Kyrie there to kind of break up or be able to get Luca down the road, right? So I mean, Kyrie has worn out his welcome pretty much wherever he's been, right? I mean, for the most part, and kind of
But they just went to the championship last year.
true, but he also won a championship with LeBron, right? Didn't he?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's kind of, but he just seems to wear out his welcome wherever he
Mm.
goes, and he definitely.
So you think he has something to do with the Luka
Not
trade?
him directly, but for whatever reason, like you said, Cuban stepped back, and whoever is in charge of the team or day-to-day operations. And yeah, definitely there is concerns with Luca, his weight and conditioning, and as we kind of touched on earlier, talking about relating NBA skill set and mindset into to investing. It's a long career, right? A lot of these guys, it's a long you can, and Luca's had a great short career so far. But if he, definitely the conditioning and weight can play a factor down the road, right? And just like in real estate, right, if you're not thinking of the long term plans of things or vision, right, you can get some short term success, but it may not translate to a long term goal. Let's see. What did Jovi's a little punk? So let's see. Spend all his time to fight. Yeah. Well, Joe's yeah. He doesn't know much about sports because he's a Packers fan. But definitely Luca, yeah, his conditioning is going to be of concern. But you also got to look at it from a money and marketing standpoint, I think, for the NBA. And also, you have the Lakers, probably the most visible team with the Knicks right out there. I mean, Dallas is still a big market, but you're talking about the Lakers, right? Like you're saying, the purple and gold jersey, right? Being in LA. And I think this is going to translate for a lot of dollars overall, right? For the NBA and for the Lakers, right?
They say he lost a lot of money. Luca, he as far as his player option or something, he lost or going to lose like over 315 million or something. Like if he would have stayed in Dallas, and they were saying that was a thing that Dallas didn't want to do too, but allegedly or whatever, that was one of the reasons they shipped him off as well.
I think as we all kind of know too, right? It's a lot of times these players don't build their wealth on their contract in a sense, right? It's kind of what they're doing
Yeah.
outside or what it brings for their career. So I think that's where he's probably going to make it up. And a lot of people feel that's why LeBron ended up in LA too, right? It's from the outside entertainment world and whatnot. That's going to be his after career. But yeah, this was a good live. I mean, I wish Harrison was able to hop on. This was kind of his topic. He wanted to talk about. We got into the Section 8, as far as hey, whatever happens, happens out there, right? If it does, if Section 8 does end, hopefully you're not all into just one tenant base, right? You're kind of diversifying. But as we touched on too, right, it really just goes back to some of the basic principles of having, enough reserves and doing proper screening, right? Trying to put the best tenant in there possible. And we'll just wrap things up. So I did chat GPT our teams that we did build. So I'll just recap it. So MJ had let's see, you had Shaq. No, yeah. Shaq, Duncan, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and Kobe Bryant was your five, right? And my five was Steph Curry, John Stockton, Barkley, Pippen, and Hakeem Olajuwon. And it talks about interior battles and perimeter defense and whatnot. So it says if the teams played in the modern era with a focus on spacing and 3-point shooting, my team would probably have an edge because Curry stretching the floor and Stockton controlling the tempo. But in a more physical, traditional game, tier one or team one, MJ's team, sheer dominance in size and interior play would wear them down. Overall, I'd give MJ's team the win in a best of seven series, probably 4-2. Shaq is too much to handle, and Kobe and Durant would get buckets. But I just want to remind everyone, Olajuwon embarrassed Shaq, I believe, in the 94 and 95 championship.
It happens to the best. Michael Jordan embarrassed everybody, so hey, it is what it is.
And the funny thing is, MJ and LeBron did not end up on either one of our teams.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for stopping by. Hey, Jen, thank you. Hopefully, you guys will let me in, and the ladies of ORAT call today to check it out. But yeah, this was a fun one, and see everyone in Vegas. Wait, haha, I remember Pippen. See, yeah, she Jen knows my team. She knows Pippen and Hakeem. But yeah,
Chat
everyone else.
GPT is the future.
deep seek, man, deep seek.
Oh, right, right. Yeah, that's I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole. Yeah, right.
Well, everyone else out there, if I don't do any, I'll probably try to do a live before the ORAD event. But if not, I'll see all you folks next week in Vegas. And MJ, thanks for doing this, man, and we'll get you back on again.
Absolutely, no
All
problem,
right, man.
Mark.
All right, man. Have a good day, everyone.